Welcome to Cornwall, the most southwesterly county in Britain. It's most famous for its rugged coastline and wild inland moors. No part of the county is further than 20 miles from the coast. Yes, we are still in Cornwall, not on the moon. This is Little John's, an English china clay pit. English china clay is used in all sorts of products, from toothpaste to porcelain. Here, the equipment at the clay pit is being checked for servicing by Gavin McNerlin, an apprentice with the local engineering company. After finishing work at the clay pit, Gavin is on his way back to Svedala Limited, the company where he's training to be an engineer.
Hello, my name's Gavin. I've just come back to the factory to service a pump. The main part of my apprenticeship is the service and repair area, where the pumps which need servicing are brought in, are taken and stripped down to see what's wrong with them. A quote is then given to the owner of the pump, and new parts which are ordered are all fitted together and sent off to the owner again.
Svedala produces pumps and other equipment for marine engineering and for the mining industry. Gavin described how components for a pump are made in the factory.
The first step is to make a wooden pattern. That's made in the pattern shop by the carpenters. The pattern is then taken to the foundry. At the foundry, sand casting is made, where sand is formed around the wooden pattern. The wooden pattern is then taken away from the sand, just leaving a mould. Then a coating is put around the sand, stop it from being porous. Then the hot molten metal is then poured into the casting. And then once it's cooled down and set hard, the sand is then removed from the metal which has been formed.
Components such as chassis beds for the pump to sit on are welded together in the fabrication workshop. Finally, the pump is put together in the assembly area. The process we've just seen starts with a wooden pattern being made by carpenters in the pattern shop. Then a sand casting of the pattern is made in the foundry. The wood is then removed, leaving a mould in the form of the pattern. A plastic coating is put into the mould to seal the casting. Then molten metal is poured in. Next, the sand is removed. This leaves the finished component. Components are welded or joined together in the fabrication workshop. And finally, in the assembly area, the pump is assembled from all the components. The Svedala factory is by the harbour at Charleston, near St Austell. Sailing ships are still being built here. Gavin told me that many of these ships are actually used in films and television dramas about the sea in the days of sail. I asked Gavin about being an apprentice.
Well, basically an apprentice is someone who's training for a recognised qualification, but rather than going to college full-time, is based in a workplace as well. The other difference is you also get paid to work as well, which is an added advantage really.
How long have you been an apprentice for?
I've been an apprentice for 10 months now.
Why did you decide to become an apprentice at Svedala?
Well, originally I wanted to be an engineer straight from school. The only option then was to go to college full time. So I did a year there. I found it wasn't very practically based. I prefer to get my hands dirty and get on the job. And when the advert came up in the paper for this apprenticeship, I decided to go for that, thinking obviously that it'd be more practical, as well as a little bit of theory, which I don't mind. So I decided to take up the job.
And how long will you be an apprentice for at Svedala?
I'll be an apprentice for 5 years.
So being an apprentice means you have to do practical and theoretical work. Where do you do the theoretical work and what kind of work is it?
Well, we're at Cornwall College every Monday. We do maths, which could be anything from vectors, algebra, basically things that we do need to know. Science, drawing. We also do computer-aided design.
So what do you like most about the apprenticeship? Do you prefer the practical side or the theoretical side?
Definitely the practical, I think. Not only use of machines, but taking things apart, cleaning them, putting them back together, ordering new parts.
Do you think you'll remain with Svedala after your 5 years apprenticeship, or can you imagine going on to do something else?
No, I'm very happy where I am, but at the end of my apprenticeship I would like to work abroad for Svedala if the opportunity arises.
Every Monday, Gavin and other apprentices go to Cornwall College in Camborne. Gavin's favourite subject is computer-aided design. It involves the use of computers to draw pictures for designing and making products. Learning how to use a computer is an essential part of an engineer's training. But more traditional skills are also needed.
Now when you hold the hacksaw, make sure it's dead square, and be very light in your pressure when you apply the saw. If you put too much pressure, it'll go off the line. You take it slow and easy.
Yeah.
Are you making sure it's square?
Yeah.
Well, visually.
Yeah.
Here in the machine shop, students are gaining practical experience operating heavy machinery under expert guidance and tuition.
Right, you got a problem, yeah?
Yeah.
Lads, ease that off a bit.
Yeah.
Yep, and just tap the bearing forward.
Right.
So then we'll go that.
Right.
Yep.
Put that on back on again.
I talked to some of Gavin's fellow students. Why did you decide on this kind of apprenticeship?
Because I've always been interested in practical work, and I needed the money, basically.
When did you leave school?
I left school last September. I come straight into work. I was lucky to get this job. I haven't really considered college full-time, but, you know, the money's coming in handy for the work anyway.
Are you an apprentice?
Not at the moment, but I'm hoping to be soon.
Where would you like to be an apprentice?
I'd like to be an apprentice at one of the places I applied for, like Svedala or somewhere like that.
What type of an apprentice do you want to be?
Mechanical apprentice, a craftsman or something.
Why did you decide to go into this line of work?
My family are all engineers, and my brother is studying it at the moment, so it was a family interest.
What type of an apprentice are you?
At the moment, I don't know exactly because I work with Falmouth Docks, and this last year I've been doing a course at college where I cover every subject, mechanical, welding and electrical, and then after our exams we find out what apprentice we go into.
What do you think would you like to do?
I'm hoping to become an electrical apprentice, so working with electronics and lighting systems and things like that. So,
how long will your apprenticeship last for?
it lasts for 4 years, and then we get a chance to stay on down the docks as a proper workman. So hopefully that'll be okay.
Would you have liked to go to university?
No, I haven't got the brains for university, and I prefer the practical stuff more than the classroom.
Where are you an apprentice?
I'm with Svedala Pumps and Processes in St Austell.
Why did you decide to become an apprentice?
In the long term, I'd like to see myself in a management position, and the apprenticeship proves the ideal way to get a grounding in the work the factory does.
Why did you decide to become an apprentice?
That's a difficult question to answer. I think it's because it's such a broad-based way of learning, and it's vocation-based rather than academic, so you learn as a hands-on experience.
So what kind of an apprentice are you now?
I'm still in my first year, so we haven't specialised yet. At the moment I'm fitting, but probably next month I'll go into machining.
What do you think would you like to go into in the long run?
I'm not really sure. Possibly design, that side, maybe production engineering. I've yet to make up my mind.
It becomes very boring, and in fact...
Next, I watched the students learning about robotics.
But what the robot has to do, it has to simulate all the operations that the human operator would normally have. Each figure is identified to a particular axis of the robot. Right, Gavin, if you would like to take the control panel, will you lift it up, go through the operations, and when you believe that you've got to a waypoint, say waypoint. Waypoint 1 is the first one. So. I agree with that. Waypoint 1.
How is the robot driven?
This particular one is electrically driven. There are stepper motors which drive each particular axis. But of course in industry, the axis would need a lot more force. The motors would not be capable of doing it, and it would either be pneumatic or hydraulic.
Hello, Alan.
Hello.
Alan Taylor, a lecturer at the college, told me about qualifications for apprentices.
Nowadays, the best way to be recognised for your practical skills is to take on a national vocational qualification. These are laid down, the standards are dictated by the controlling bodies of the industries concerned.
And what skills will they have to learn in order to gain their NVQ qualification?
The NVQ spreads over a number of skills. They will either be machine operators, they will be maintenance engineers, or they could be welding and fabrication.
And what is the NVQ qualification equivalent to? Is there a university degree qualification that is equivalent to it, for instance?
There are two routes normally for young people who need to take up a career. One is along an academic route, and the other is along a much more practical route.
What makes the better engineer? The university-trained student or the NVQ-trained apprentice?
It really depends which level you're looking at. I would believe that all my customers, when they receive a new graduate straight from university, there is always a learning curve that graduate has to take up. With an NVQ progression, the student has remained in industry for a very long time, already knows the ropes, and will fit in and provide a much better output. But it's short term. Obviously, as the years progress, then the graduate would be able to overtake the NVQ 3-man and would take up those more senior posts.
There are two main routes to careers in engineering: academic, based on a university degree, and practical, based on modern apprenticeship. The academic route involves passing A-levels at school and then taking a university degree in engineering. After university, an engineering graduate will join a suitable company and will eventually qualify as a chartered engineer. But for many young people, the practical route is better. It means being a fully paid modern apprentice with an engineering company for 4 to 5 years. The apprenticeship begins with in-house training in the company and a short course called block release at a further education college in order to get a certificate, known as a Foundation Award. After that, apprentices are given further training in the company. They also study at college 1 day every week, which enables them to get a National Vocational Qualification, or NVQ. This is related directly to the apprentice's vocation or career. NVQs are awarded at various levels. For example, Level 3 means that an apprentice like Gavin will be qualified as an engineering technician. Gavin lives with his mother and younger brother here in the village of Fradden, near the cathedral city of Truro. Gavin, where were you born and brought up?
I was born in Truro, in Cornwall. I've lived here all my life, in Fradden.
And have you ever been tempted to leave Cornwall?
Not really. I don't think I've been tempted to leave. I like the countryside a lot.
What's your aim in life?
My main aim at the moment is to complete my NVQ level 3. Hopefully move on to technicians after that. Just remain happy and working.
Did your school friends opt for further education, or did they become apprentices too?
Most of them decided to carry on at school, but I do know of 2 which are doing apprenticeships.
Did all of your friends manage to get a job, or have some of them been affected by unemployment?
Well, the ones that didn't end up with jobs decided to go back to school or college anyway. It's a better option rather than being unemployed.
Gavin, you start work very early in the mornings and finish fairly early in the afternoons, which must be quite nice in the summer when the weather's nice. What do you like to do in your spare time?
Well, I've got a motorcycle, which when it's nice I do go out riding around Newquay area. I like going to the beach, play football. I've just passed my driving test, so I can go for a ride in Mum's car. During the week, of an evening, I like to go and play snooker at the local club. But most of all, I like to go clubbing of a Friday and Saturday night to this brilliant nightclub in Newquay called Tall Trees.
We followed Gavin and his friends to Tall Trees nightclub. At the weekend, if the weather is fine, Gavin plays football on the beach. Some of his friends go surfing, a popular sport on the Cornish coast. I talked to some of Gavin's friends. What are you going to do once you finish your apprenticeship at Svedala?
I'm hoping they're going to offer me a full-time position doing machining, and I hope to carry on for there for a very long time.
What do you do?
I work for Svedala in Cornwall and deal with incoming invoices and send them out and get them ready for payment so that we can pay the companies who supply us with the parts.
Chris, tell me, how old are you?
I'm 21.
You're a little older than the other first-year apprentices at Svedala. Can you tell me what you did before you came to Svedala as an apprentice?
Last year I finished my degree. I was at Cambridge studying geology, but I decided I really wanted to move back to Cornwall, and also decided I wanted to do something more practical, such as engineering. Moving to Svedala proved the ideal opportunity. I was able to gain a grounding by doing an apprenticeship, where I've always kept the degree behind me, so I always have that to fall back on.
What do you do?
I work at Svedala. I'm the secretary to the manufacturing manager.
Did you go to Svedala as soon as you left school?
No, I went to ECC, which is English China Clays, on a YTS, which is a youth training scheme for 2 years. And then I've seen a job at Svedala, which I applied for and I've got. So I've been there for 5 years now.
What do you do in your spare time?
I like to dance, I go to clubs. I like music a lot. I like to sing.
Why do you think so many young people like going to clubs nowadays?
I'm not sure actually. I don't know, just everyone getting together and everyone's really happy. It's really nice atmosphere.
The weekend with dancing and playing on the beach is over. It's Monday morning and Gavin has to get up early and go to college. Here we leave Gavin in order to make a tour of the Cornish countryside. This is South Crofty Mine, the last tin mine in Cornwall that is still working. At one time, Cornish tin and copper mines were the most important in the world. Now they're closed, and the landscape is full of their castle-like ruins of their engine houses. Cornwall is a land of Celtic legends. The ruined castle at Tintagel is said to have been the home of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. It was the source of many famous stories, such as the romance of Tristan and Isolde. Very different is the seaside resort of St. Ives, which attracts crowds of tourists from all over the world during the summer. The town has managed to keep much of its old character, with cobbled streets and tiny gardens in front of whitewashed buildings. More than 60 years ago, St. Ives became a centre for artists from the internationally famous, like the sculptor Barbara Hepworth, to less well-known painters of local sites. One of the most picturesque villages on the Cornish coast is Polperro. Fishing is still a very important source of income here, but nowadays the customers are often tourists. Indeed, tourism has replaced the old practice of smuggling as an alternative way of making a living. On an island just off the coast is St. Michael's Mount, originally the site of a Benedictine monastery founded in the 11th century. The castle itself dates from the 14th and 15th centuries. We're here at the westernmost point of Britain, Land's End. It's also day's end and our programme's end. See you next time. Bye.